Thanks very much for watching this special program from the nation's capital, addressing the critical demand for cyber pros. We'll cover a lot of ground in the coming 30 minutes, all of it around cyber, including cyber awareness, ISC Squared's role in shaping the cyber community, and the acute shortage of talent in the cyber workforce. I'm your host, Francis Rose. Joining me for insight and analysis, Dan Waddell is the Managing Director for North America at ISC Squared. Dan, thanks for coming on the program. It's a very tough time for cybersecurity right now. We'll have a new president in January and a new cyber agenda. What do you see as the important elements of a cyber agenda, not politically, but just moving forward for the good of the country?
Sure. I think anytime we talk about cybersecurity and ISC Squared, it's really about a people, process, technology solution. Like one of the challenges that we've seen in the past is because technology moves so fast, we're prone to just try to solve it with a piece of hardware or a piece of software. So what ISC Squared is all about is training, educating, and certifying cybersecurity professionals so they can do their job. And certification is just the beginning. It's really all about sharpening those skills through continuing education, things of that nature. So it's really, I like to say it's a holistic approach, really people, process, technology, and that's how we can solve the problems.
We'll talk about the certifications and so on later in the program. Do you have a sense, though, that the average person walking down the street, the average person that will vote in the election, really has an idea of where the country is cyber-wise and really has an idea of the importance of cybersecurity as an issue?
I think as an individual, I think we do, and here's why. You probably have the same stack of letters on your table that you've got from OPM and Target and Sony and those types of organizations, but what I think that we need to do a better job is really demonstrate the risk that the individual poses to the corporation or to the government agency by clicking on that link. What's going to happen to my data from an enterprise perspective? Because I think we've been pretty drilled in terms of how we do our business each and every day online. Everything that we do is connected now. I think it's really shifting that conversation to translating that risk to what we do at work. How does it impact our family? How does it impact the mission and the business of the organization?
And speaking of shifting conversations, what I'm struck by in the cybersecurity realm, in government and out of government, is that idea that you just alluded to, which is the insider threat, but mostly the innocent insider threat. Somebody who does something that he or she shouldn't do, but they didn't really know any better.
Right.
Maybe it's a training issue or maybe it's just laziness, but they did something they shouldn't have. They weren't trying to cause a problem, and they turned around causing a big problem for their enterprise.
That's right, and I think what we're starting to see, there have been a lot of training initiatives, and ISC Squared is certainly one organization that can help. It's starting to train these people to say, hey, look, this email may seem like it's coming from my bank or from my company, but to really look at it and inspect it, if I do click on that link, bad things could potentially happen. So I think there's a combination of things that we can do. Certainly from the training and awareness perspective, yes, but I think from an organization perspective, particularly from a government agency, they need to be investing more in terms of the budget on some of the controls that they can put in place so that if and when somebody does click, there's still a defense in depth protection behind the scenes that can help prevent that next attack.
All right, we've touched on the OPM cyber breach already. That's a very high profile example. There are others out there, both in the public sector and the private sector. What do we take away from those, and what breadth do we have an understanding of how people have been impacted across the country?
I think one of the things that we can take away from it is that the adversary is always moving at a much faster pace than what we can keep up. We only have to be wrong one time for the damage to really happen. And the adversary can try many times and many different techniques. So I think it's really up to us as individuals to be able to say, here's what's really important, and to be able to demonstrate it in a way that when I click on something or if I'm giving my password to somebody, that there may be repercussions down the road. What I think ISC Squared would love to see is a little bit more attention placed on the cybersecurity aspect of it. We haven't heard too much in the debates to this point. I think it's a very important topic, and I think it's something that as we prepare for the election and as we get ready to see what's going to happen here in 2017 with the transition, that there are some things that we could be doing collectively as a community to help protect ourselves.
This administration, the Obama administration, recently released the Cybersecurity National Action Plan, CNAP. What did you take away from what was in there, and what would you like to see a new administration build on in that plan to explain to the average citizen the importance of cybersecurity and the importance of vigilance in cybersecurity?
Big supporter of CNAP. I think there were a lot of good things. I think the number one thing that I took away from CNAP is for the first time they designated a federal CISO position. That was recently announced with retired General Greg Toohill, who was formerly at DHS. He's now on the job. I think that was a fantastic move. He's also a member of ISC Squared. He's a CISSP as well. And there were some other things in the CNAP that I really liked too. I think there was a focus on a commission and putting together some recommendations. I know Michael Daniel at the White House is putting those recommendations together to help with that transition to the new administration. And there was also a talk of investing more money, right? So there was a $3 billion earmark that the president recommended. Obviously, it's going to take Congress to be able to pass that through appropriations. But so I think, you know, I think the overall message is there were some really good things. We've got a lot of work to do.
All right. Speaking of Congress and work to do,
yes,
there is a lot there. They've tried for the past at least 5 years to pass some kind of cybersecurity legislation. For a long time, it was a battle between the chambers about how we do it in pieces or one big bill. What's your sense of where Congress is on this right now? Do they at least understand the gravity of the problem, do you think?
I think they understand the gravity of the problem. We saw last year with the passage of the Cybersecurity Act of 2015 to give DHS some more authority and some more resources, particularly around Einstein 3A, which is basically the intrusion detection system of the federal government. I think at the time there was maybe around 30 to 40% of the large federal agencies that were on board. I saw a recent statistic that was now 66%, so we're seeing some movement there. I think it might be a little tough to get something passed here in the next few weeks, but what we'd really like to see is to be able to put together that transition plan for that next administration to say, look, these are some of the things that we've been able to advance, but we still have a long way to go.
One of the biggest problems for the agencies is just knowing where the money's going to come from and starting something new, as any of this would be, because of the continuing resolution problem that we've had. What's your sense of how that's affected all of the kinds of things that we've discussed so far?
It's like kicking the can down the proverbial road, unfortunately, because what the CRs do and this threat of sequestration, it only continues the status quo of the budget. It's very hard to pass new initiatives, particularly around cybersecurity, under this constant CR, and particularly when you talk about the shortage of workforce professionals and the shortage of programs and the attention that we need, we really need to sit down and have these agencies put together long-term 3- and 5-year budgets, and the continuing resolution process makes that very, very difficult. So, and unfortunately, it's kind of become the norm. But what I'd like to see is maybe go back to actually putting together a real budget and so give these agencies an opportunity to start building those 3- to 5-year plans.
And that's not the only area where agencies would like to build long-term plans. Right. Do you get any sense at all that there is any momentum in Congress to say, yes, we understand we've been doing it wrong, and we need to give agencies the opportunity to plan for longer term in order for them to govern more effectively, but also to save money long-term by not having to do all this on a short-term basis?
Yeah, I think so. What I have been pleased, particularly in the last year or so, is it used to be that organizations like ISC Squared did a lot of outreach to Capitol Hill. We're actually starting to hear those messages from Capitol Hill to organizations such as us. So, so they're listening. That's the good news. So I think, you know, particularly as we move into 2017, I think we're going to be able to see some impact there. Absolutely.
Coming next, the role of ISC Squared in inspiring a safe and secure world, the importance of cybersecurity certifications, training, and education programs and events. Keep it right here for more of this special program from the nation's capital addressing the critical demand for cyber pros.
The topic of cybersecurity raises concerns daily for both government officials and the general public. But once a year, attendees of the ISC Squared U.S. Government Information Security Leadership Award Gala learn about cyber done right and walk away with a greater level of confidence that we will win the cybersecurity battle.
Can you influence change to prevent the next cyber breach? Join ISC Squared on May 9th, 10th, and 11th for Cyber Secure Gov, where experts will gather to shake up the government's cyber status quo. This 3-day training event held at the Marriott Wardman Park is a unique opportunity to collaborate with others who think outside the cyber box. CISSPs and other ISC Squared members will earn 20 CPEs. Visit cybersecuregov.isc2.org.
Welcome Welcome back to this special program from the nation's capital, addressing the critical demand for cyber pros. Now that you know some of the challenges posed by cybersecurity, let's talk about some of the solutions. And that is where ISC Squared comes in. It's an international nonprofit membership association that's focused on inspiring a safe and secure world. After 25 years of service, their membership includes more than 115,000 cyber, information, software, and infrastructure security professionals. But what do they do? For answers, I'm joined again by Dan Waddell. He's the Managing Director for North America at ISC Squared. Dan, let's start with the mission. The mission is inspiring a safe and secure world. What does that mean to make it more than just a slogan?
Sure. It actually hits home for me. I have 3 kids. So when I took the CISSP exam in 2004, I was just starting my family, and so they're growing up. They've got the digital devices, so it really hit home for me. So when we talk about inspiring a safe and secure cyber world, it's really about building a community of experts that not only help secure our nation, our companies, but also act as mentors. We really want to take the exclusivity out of cyber to really open it up and say, look, this is an opportunity for a lot of people to really do some exciting work. Sure, salary, you can make a lot of money, but really, it's the job is something different every single day. And so when I see inspire a safe and secure cyber world, my vision is to have everybody part of that community.
All right, I'm a little bit of a word nerd, so I want to go to inspiring. That sounds to me like you want to germinate this all over the place.
Absolutely.
And not just drive an agenda that you and your organization determine. Am I on the right track?
You're absolutely on the right track. So we have two separate parts of our organization. Well, the ISC Squared is certainly focused on the training and the certification and the education side, that membership side, right? We also have another side. It's called the Center for Cyber Safety and Education. So that's where we can run programs such as our scholarships, such as our research, such as Safe and Secure Online, where we just announced a great partnership with Garfield the Cat. And so when we talk about really inspiring to be able to get the kids and get the students at a very early age to buy into this concept of securing your world, right? And there's also a little bit of a career day aspect of it too, because when they start to see this, they maybe think, you know, this might be a career for me.
I can't let the program end without getting to Garfield, so we'll cover him in a little bit.
Sure.
Tell me about the certification programs. There's a broad range, just as there is now a broad range of cybersecurity specialties and professions. It's not just one size fits all anymore, is it?
That's right. I think most people know ISC Squared because of the CISSP. We have 100,000 worldwide. Actually, Virginia has the most CISSPs of all the states in the country, so I'm proud of the Commonwealth there. But we have many more certifications covering cloud security, forensics, healthcare security, software, system and network security. So it's really, certification is really just the beginning. So you take a pretty hard exam, and you can demonstrate by showing those letters that you've taken a hard exam, you've got the experience, you've got the validation. But again, it's sharpening that saw. It's going out and maintaining those skills through webinars, through education, through events, through a number of different training materials that we can do, both instructor-led and online. So it's really, that certification is just the beginning for our members.
And that's kind of where I wanted to go next. How do you get to the idea of the different ways that people learn and demonstrate that they've learned?
Sure. Well, I think the old school way of doing it was definitely more of that boot camp, instructor-led, getting everybody in a hotel conference room for a week and then taking a test after. Now, certainly, some people like that mode of learning, right? So I think it really, with the advent of everything online now, and certainly with the millennial generation, we found that that next generation of students are more adept at learning from their device. So really rolling out some programs that ISC Squared has in terms of having live online or on demand, where you can take this training from any device, stop it and start it over a period of 16 weeks, for example, versus trying to cram in. So it's really about offering a lot of different options depending on the student's needs and how they learn.
So if I'm interested in obtaining one of these certifications, there's a bunch of different ways I can go about doing it, it sounds like.
Absolutely. Certainly, you can buy the book and self-study. That's the way I did it. But yes, if you're more attuned to doing something in an instructor-led boot camp, certainly that option, and then lots of online resources as well.
Now, you also do a lot of events at ISC Squared. The big one in this area is CyberSecure Gov. What is that all about?
So CyberSecure Gov, we're actually going to go into CyberSecure Gov 2017. It's going to be our 5th year. We're going to have it at the Marriott Wardman Park, May 9th, 10th, and 11th. We're expecting around 750 individuals, members. It's everybody from government and also private sector and also academia. It's obviously a government-focused event, but I think what makes this different, a different event than some of the others is the fact that we're bringing in experts from all across the country, and it's not your typical Beltway event. So I think we really want to get down to solutions-based conversations. So it's an opportunity for our members to come and get those CPEs to help maintain those certifications, but it's also an opportunity for folks to maybe, if they've never heard about ISC Square, to learn more about it. There's going to be a career fair where if folks are interested in hiring, they can do that. We're also going to have a hacking competition. So if students are interested in kind of showing their stuff and seeing if they can win some awards and win some prizes by hacking some boxes in a safe environment, that's an option too.
That's probably a good place to get yourself on the radar screen of some of your members that are always looking for talent too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The talent stream is something that we'll discuss later, but what I hear in your event there is a community building type situation. Is that what you're trying to do here, generating collaboration and the exchange of ideas?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I have seen being in this field for almost 20 years is it used to be we operated in very much an echo chamber, right? We were just sharing these same problems and trying to solve these problems and just kind of doing it behind closed doors. So what we've really tried to do through our events is really open it up to everybody. It's not just for our members. Obviously, we want our members to come, but we want to open this up to everybody to really, again, take that exclusivity out of cyber and make it more approachable. Especially, we talk about a shortage of cybersecurity workforce professionals. Come to our shows, and I think you can kind of figure out what's going to be in a day in a life of a cyber pro.
They're not silos; they're cylinders of excellence.
Exactly.
I'm told inside
like
federal agencies. How do you want to make this structure this in such a way that people will take something back to their organization that they've learned from this event? That seems to be the big challenge sometimes.
Absolutely. I think anybody can put on an event, but it's really having something that folks can take away. So what we like to do is maybe tie in some survey or some results or things of that nature, or maybe a white paper that these organizations can take back. We're actually getting ready to kick off our global information security workforce study. We're going to be releasing the government results at CyberSecureGov 2017. That's always a really big report. We get a lot of interest in that, not only from our members, but from those folks that are actually putting together their budgets. They can have this report and say, look, we've got 14,000 people that we've surveyed that said, here's the problems that I'm facing. The cloud security certification that we developed 2 years ago was based on that survey because it was we found that our members in the community were demanding cloud security with this rush to cloud. So it's definitely something that we like to do and kind of offer that as a free takeaway.
Dan Waddell of ISC Squared. When we come back, a look at where things stand for the cybersecurity workforce. There is a crisis on the horizon, but it's not too late to make a difference. Keep it right here for more of our special program from the nation's capital, addressing the critical demand for cyber pros.
Get official ISC Squared Certified Information Systems Security Professional Training to ensure your organization is cybersecurity ready. Our award-winning training will prepare your team to take on the challenging CISSP exam with confidence. They'll be able to tackle any cybersecurity threat your organization may face through classroom-based training, private on-site training, online or on-demand training. Sign up today at traincisssp.com.
You're watching this special program from the nation's capital, addressing the critical demand for cyber pros. So far, we've covered the state of the cyber landscape and some of the solutions that ISC Squared offers to close that gap. Closing that gap is pretty critical, and you look no further to do it than the cyber workforce. Globally, the projected shortfall in the cybersecurity pro field is projected to reach 1.5 million professionals by the year 2020. That's a huge number, and it's daunting for the public sector and the private sector alike. Dan Waddell, the managing director for North America at ISC Squared, is here. And Dan, before we go any further, put that number into context. What does that mean as far as the entire breadth of the cybersecurity pro field and the need that's out there right now?
It really covers everything from the entry-level cybersecurity analyst all the way up to the senior-level cybersecurity program manager. So we're talking about a pretty significant gap across a number of different specialties. And I think one of the questions that I always get is, why is that number so big? If you think about it, back in the day, we didn't have everything connected to the internet. So now all of a sudden we've got refrigerators and cars and things like that. So the Internet of Things is what we call it. So we have a lot more things to protect. So that's one of the reasons too. And I think another thing that we want to really focus on is to help the current cybersecurity professional workforce out there right now. I can speak from that from a personal perspective because I used to be one before I was a full-time ISC² employee, and I worked a lot of hours, and there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of balls in the air that we have to juggle. So it's really getting those additional people on board to help alleviate some of that stress and to start to spread that out a little bit amongst that cadre of professionals, so we can talk about separating disciplines from cloud and software security and things of that nature.
So when you put it in the context of we're kind of playing catch up to understanding the volume of stuff that's connected and the security level, that sounds like that could be glass half full or glass half empty. The glass half full is, well, we're learning what we need and we're building infrastructure to generate the workforce that we need to be able to support it. That's the half full side. The half empty side is we're adding stuff to such an exponential degree that it might be difficult to ever catch up when you think about the Internet of Things and some other things, some other concepts that are coming along. Do you have a sense of which is maybe the more prevalent or more common school of thought right now?
I would say that we probably don't want to target this at a zero-sum game. I think we're always going to be playing a little bit of catch-up just because of the fact that you raised. It's because technology moves so fast, there's always going to be new skills to learn. But really, I think the big thing that I would like to focus on is especially getting that next generation in. So when we did our survey, we found that the average age of a cybersecurity professional was 42 years old. I call it the silver tsunami. That term has been tossed around here in the Beltway. There's a brain drain there that's going to happen. We need to get that next generation of cyber professionals in there, and really that takes a number of different paths. I would say reaching out to the students is certainly one, and also reaching out to the current workforce that may be in other disciplines such as HR, communications, finance, legal, privacy. There may be some experts in those fields that have skills that can translate over to cybersecurity.
How do you go about identifying those kinds of people?
It's really so, certainly at our events and things of that nature, we're doing a lot of research, and it's also making sure that the folks that are writing the job descriptions right now are being able to write those so that they're a little bit more inclusive. One of the things that we found just from a workforce diversity perspective is that only 10% of our workforce, cybersecurity workforce, is made up of women. And so a lot of times when I look at job descriptions, there's a way you can write a job description that absolutely turns off a certain segment of the population or a certain segment of the demographic. So I think we can do a lot more to be more inclusive and be more diverse and really embrace that diverse concept, because when you bring in a different collection of individuals, it helps to have those different perspectives on that problem, and you can really solve it from a number of different ways. You're
really trying to dig deeply into this. You've got a 20,000 person study that you're conducting in conjunction with Frost and Sullivan. What do you want to pull out? I imagine the things that you just described are some of the things that you want to pull out, how to appeal to a wider group of people. What are some of the other goals that you have from that work?
Certainly. I think one of the other things that we look at too is what are the skills that are out there and what are the tools and technologies that are out there that are just popping up that our members in the community at large need education on. I mentioned the cloud security one as an example. We did a shorter research study with our partner KPMG where we just surveyed 50 of the top federal cybersecurity executives in government. And one of the things that they told us was we need more predictive analytics, being able to look at some behavior-based detection, things of that nature to help prevent insider threat and things of that nature. So, so really, those are the types of things that we want to pull out of that report. And again, at CyberSecureGov, we're going to have that government-focused study that people can take back and really start to build their business plans and build their strategies long-term and see how they can solve the problem.
The broadly based research is called the Global Information Security Workforce Study. Where do we go to find out more information about all of the things that we've talked about?
Sure. So there are two websites. So our main website on the membership side is isc2.org, and then for the Center for Cyber Safety and Education, where you can learn more about Garfield and our scholarships and our research, is isc2cares.org.
I promised you we're going to get to Garfield, and we are going to get to Garfield.
Awesome.
I can't let the program end without that. But the motivation is what I want to talk about to wrap up this part of our conversation, Dan. People here, you can make a lot of money going into cyber, but what are some of the other things about a cybersecurity career that the people that are in it find really appealing and rewarding?
One of the things that appealed to me was the fact that there was a different challenge every day. There was something that was just this constant change of things, the varying threats that came across. I was always having to develop new techniques to fight the bad guys. So there's certainly that aspect of it. It's something that's always moving. I think when you really focus on the government piece, there's a mission part that I think people are really drawn to. You know, the government, it's well known the government doesn't pay as much for their cybersecurity professionals as maybe their brethren in the private sector. But one of the advantages that I think the government can sell and has sold is the fact that they can really help secure their country. It's the mission. The folks at NSA and DHS and DoD, I think, are having that type of benefit when they're writing those job descriptions to pull in that's motivation right there. I'm doing something good for my country, and I can walk away feeling that I made a difference.
Dan Waddell of ISC Squared. Well, he loves lasagna and hates Mondays. Not Dan, it's Garfield. How Garfield's making the cyber world a safer place for everyone. We'll wrap up this special program from the nation's capital, addressing the critical demand for cyber pros, right after this.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Garfield?
Well, would you be thinking about an extra-large pizza with triple pepperoni and a chocolate chip milkshake?
No, Garfield. I'm worried that NERML's giving out personal information.
Can you influence change to prevent the next cyber breach? Join ISC Squared on May 9th, 10th, and 11th for Cyber Secure Gov, where experts will gather to shake up the government's cyber status quo. This 3-day training event held at the Marriott Wardman Park is a unique opportunity to collaborate with others who think outside the cyber box. CISSPs and other ISC Squared members will earn 20 CPEs. Visit cybersecuregov.isc2.org.
According to the Center for Cyber Safety and Education, 87% of kids in grades 4 through 8 reported they've learned about safe internet at home or at school. But at the same time, nearly 1 in 3 of them admitted to using the internet in a way their parents wouldn't approve of. Today, those children and their parents have a new advocate to help them navigate the dangers of online life. It's Garfield. Dan Waddell of ISC Squared. What is the deal with Garfield involved in cybersecurity education for kids?
Well, it's all about our program, Safe and Secure Online. It was a program that I actually volunteered with before I became a full-time employee of ISC Squared. And it's a program that actually goes out to schools and teaches kids about internet safety. So the program has been around for a while, and there's also segments for parents and teachers and seniors to be able to teach them as well. But we actually just announced a partnership with Jim Davis, the creator of Garfield. We told him about this idea. We wanted to reach more. I think when we look at the numbers, we weren't reaching enough, and we wanted an opportunity to be able to really have someone that could help us reach everybody from a global perspective. And what better option to have than Garfield, right? Because he's somebody that can talk to the kids in a number of different languages. He's very big in Japan, very big in Europe. So to really be able to have that as part of a way where we can do outreach is fantastic. And Jim Davis, met him a couple of weeks ago. Very, very excited about this program. We're thrilled to have him.
Over the past several years, you've helped more than 75,000 kids. How do you want to expand that number for parents or schools that want to get involved?
I know my boss is probably looking at me like, don't say a million, but I would love to see him. I would love to see a million. I really would. And I think Garfield can really help us achieve that through a number of different ways, right? So we talk about the online video that you just showed a portion of, but there's certainly some things that we can do in the comic book world to be able to have some comics that we can give to kids. And there's going to be an educator kit there we actually give to schools, and these teachers can hand out these materials in the classroom to really make a difference. And so now we talk about this shortage of cybersecurity workforce professionals. We're actually recruiting other folks to do the work for us, which is amazing. And really to be able to carry that message through, it's just going to be fantastic.
Dan Waddell of ISC Squared, thank you very much.
Thanks, Francis.
Thanks for watching this special program from the nation's capital addressing the critical demand for cyber pros. For more on ISC Squared, their certification programs, and more, head to their website. That's isc2.org. With Dan Waddell, I'm Francis Rose.